Hey guys, this is Prasoona, first year medical student, and you're watching the complete college selection guide after NEET. Here I will point out all the important aspects of a medical institute you should consider before choosing a college in the counseling process. There will be an unbiased comparison between central, state government and private institutes in every aspect, but along with it I will discuss one of the most asked questions in my comment section of various videos, that is why the hell did I choose SCB MCH, which is the biggest medical college of my state Odisha, instead of second and third degree AIIMS, that is all the AIIMS that are not AIIMS Delhi. In fact, there are so many seats in AIIMS now, like you can literally get an AIIMS at 5,000 or even 10,000 rank, while you may not get the topmost university of your state. But what should you choose? Let's discuss that. We will start from the obviously visible benefits to very little things that you should consider that will change your life in these coming 4.5 years. This is gonna be a long section for obvious reasons, but this is divided into subsections which is visible in the timestamps given below. The major things you should know by whichever means possible about the academic potential of your college are as such. First of all, try to find out the number of students dissecting a single cadaver. The more the number of cadavers and the lesser the number of students per cadaver, the better. Like you can get more space and time to operate and learn from the best teacher of anatomy, that is the cadaver. Like for us it was 20 students per cadaver. As the number of cadavers decreased because of the COVID situation, like if another lockdown happens, then the present cadavers will rot. So some cadavers were preserved for future uses, but in my opinion the max people that should operate on a single cadaver should be around 30. Like more than that and you will not get the same opportunity to learn from it. Another thing that you should know and you can get the information of is the capability of machines, like of microscopes, of instruments, etc. But this one doesn't actually make that much of a difference as the first one. In fact, new colleges have better equipments than older ones, but that doesn't make them better. Like the older ones are generally established, and it is generally believed that the older the university, the more established it is and the more the opportunities are. The third thing that you should know is how strict the college is about attendance, not only in theory classes but also in practicals and clinical orientations, like clinical postings, because that's a good indicator of how serious a college and its administration is about your studies. All the AIIMS and central institutes are very strict about their attendance, much more than state government colleges, which turns out to be quite a problem during internship years and rural postings, but overall it's a good indicator of a good college. Now let's start talking about the big variables, and the video is going to get more intense as it progresses. Okay, the faculties. Now it's a general belief among MBBS students that most of the knowledge comes from textbooks, cadavers, patients, online resources like apps like YouTube and apps like Marrow and PrepLadder, etc. While college classes contribute very minutely in this sphere. And this belief unfortunately cannot be debunked so easily, but that doesn't mean that having a good faculty doesn't help in your quest for knowledge. Faculties have a major role in motivating, but at the same time have the potential of demotivating a student. But where it becomes increasingly visible is when it comes to activities like research or even demonstrations, seminars, quizzes, etc. Like all the curricular activities that help in the overall development of the student. As a result, a dedicated faculty would want their students to get more involved in such activities, a huge chunk of which involve clinical rotations and postings, which are conducted very strictly in state and central government institutes, more so in AIIMS because the faculties there don't have anything else to do, like they don't have private practice, so they can involve themselves much more with the students and they aid in this way, like majorly in clinical postings where not only PGs and SRs but also the consultants like the professors would assist you. State government faculties are also very dedicated, but they have a lot of stuff to take care of rather than students, like they have a lot of workload on them. For example, our college has a very high deficiency of faculties. In fact, every college in Odisha does, and almost every state government medical college has a deficiency in faculty postings. But unfortunately, even the AIIMS have not come unscarred from this deficiency. So the general order of faculty excellency is something like central government is almost equal to state government is more than private government institutes, but central government institutes, like the faculties of central government institutes, have more time to spare for students, so they tend to be more dedicated than the state ones. But obviously there are a lot of exceptions because these are persons that we are talking of, these are not like material things. So you need to talk to someone in your college, like in your college of choice, to verify that fact. AIIMS Delhi has a very high faculty to student ratio like compared to other colleges, but with the modernization of education and the technologification of education, as I would like to call that, and with the advent of various apps and YouTube channels, you can get the same quality education even while you are sitting at home. So with all these, the need of excellent faculties for crystal clear concepts has decreased a lot. That's why I discussed the other aspects like research and clinical postings, where you will feel the need of such faculties. That brings us to our second point, academic research. The extent of research activities can be indicative of how concerned a medical college administration are towards the academics of a student. These research projects help you to build up your CV, which help during the matchmaking process if you decided to go to US for residency after MBBS. Otherwise, they are not even close to useful when we compare to the research that PG students and professors do, because the research they do is in their particular field, and the research you have done may not be the field for you after, like, say 5 or 10 years. Nevertheless, it's an useful academic criteria to filter out which college is good for you. On a side note, AIIMS Delhi is unparalleled in this field, and that single-handedly changes the viewpoint when we compare AIIMS to other medical institutes. And there are more than 45 super specialties at AIIMS, and having clinical super specialties in the same campus as the medical research facility makes the research at AIIMS the best quality possible, which can translate into clinically useful products in India. In fact, AIIMS itself publishes the National Medical Journal of India, which is next to only the journal published by ICMR, which is called Indian Journal of Medical Research. Apart from that, several other journals of India are edited by AIIMS faculties. These won't be as useful for MBBS students if you decide to stay in India, because research in MBBS and medical school is itself not so groundbreaking, like you can't do much. But if otherwise, like if you are deciding to go to US, then this is a cheat. But did you know that you don't need to be in AIIMS to take advantage of this cheat? Well, this is for another video because it's a long topic, but you can actually approach an AIIMS faculty who is interested in research and offer him your help, and he may decide to scout you, but the process is quite complicated. So that's for another video. By the way, private colleges generally don't focus on research. Another thing that AIIMS is praised for is its relaxed curriculum. Like you don't need to give the third professional exam names, and the regular tests are not there, but we do have some regular tests like internals and stuff. But honestly, it depends on perspective. Like failing in internals is a very hard thing to do. Anyways, let's move on to the next aspect. So according to my seniors, the importance of clinical exposure will hit you like a train when you reach the second year, as your first year would be preclinical subjects, so theory everywhere but no theory to implement. But I would like to mention that we have started getting clinical exposure right from the first year because of the change in policies by NMC. Like the landscape is going to change with the new policies created by NMC, and also with the advent of next exam, because it is much more clinically oriented. Even the anatomy, physiology, biochemistry is predicted to be much more clinically oriented in the next exam than it is in the current NEET PG pattern. Basically, you have to stay in the hospital for 3 to 5 hours, and in that time period you have to check on patients, and it will be quite interesting to not only see the clinical cases that you've read in textbooks until now and their variations. You may also try to diagnose them, but generally interns do that, and you will get to learn their treatments through an application point of view in real life rather than just reading it from textbook. So how should we implement this knowledge in knowing which college would be better for us? Well, just look at the bed matrix and the bed number, like the total bed number of a hospital, because that will give you the patient inflow and the clinical exposure that you are going to get from that hospital. And the more the number of the patients, the more the exposure you are gonna get, and the more your practical skills, your clinical skills will develop, because more will be the number of topics for you to study, that is the number of patients. Patients are basically your topics, and you will get a lot of rare cases too. For example, our college SCB MCH has a total of 2000 beds, like more than 2000 beds, but even that is hugely inadequate. Like you can see more patients sleeping on the ground rather than on beds. So what has been proposed is the reconstruction of our college SCB MCH to a 5000 bedded hospital by 2023. Now in comparison, according to some articles, AIIMS Delhi has 2400 beds, and AIIMS Bhubaneswar has around 900 beds, but they should have increased after this COVID situation, I think. Anyways, any number which is more than 1000 or around 1000 is very high and can be a criteria for you to judge which college cum hospital is academically better. So the order is like state government colleges and central government colleges have more beds than private colleges, which have more beds than some peripheral colleges, and foreign colleges would be the worst experience in this criterion, because they not only have less number of beds, but you would also miss out a lot on regional and endemic cases pertaining to India, as diseases have a very unique distribution pattern around the world. Classes, practicals, clinical rotations help you in excelling academically, but 60% of it depends on your dedication, and you're kind of forced to put a lot of effort into your studies if there is a good amount of peer pressure. See, let's say 100 students out of 250 are studying their ass off, so you would also be motivated to do the same, right? Now imagine the ratio of studious students even increasing further. That's why I would give the edge to AIIMS over state government medical colleges, because of the presence of state quota, which inevitably decreases some competition. I hate to see this thing so high on the list, but it's a reality in India that you will be judged based on the college you did your graduation from rather than your skills. But since we are talking about MBBS, this tag will be valid until you get a PG seat, and then the institute where you did your post graduation from will provide its tag for you. Doesn't make much sense, but it is the reality in India. Tags are overvalued. As a matter of fact, AIIMS tag also helps a lot in US matchmaking process, because like if you decide to study like pursue residency in the US, because many of the AIIMS alumni are at high ranking posts in the US healthcare system, but the tag of being an AIIMSonian is currently being devalued because of the opening of so many AIIMS in various parts of India. Hence, it should not be the first thing to consider while you are choosing a college. For example, the new AIIMS colleges that were established in 2019 do have the AIIMS tag, but some of them have not completed the construction of academic buildings, like even the academic buildings, and in some you literally need to accommodate in staff quarters and some other colleges hostels and work with the instruments, equipments and cadavers provided from the state government, like allied state government medical colleges of the locality of the mentioned names. Even more severe is the problem with the patient inflow, so kindly put the academic standpoint of your college above other things such as tag or infrastructure or area of campus, etc. Okay, the really important parts of a campus that a student really uses are the college, the hospital and the hostels, right? So there are other things like playgrounds, swimming pools, gyms, etc., but they don't make such a huge difference, so I'm keeping them out of this video. Like the apartment I live in has a swimming pool, a basketball court, a gym, a theater, a badminton court and a club facilitating 20 plus activities, but I've rarely used any of them even after living here for 4 years. I'm not saying that you won't get time to have fun in MBBS also, it's just that swimming pool would be on the bottom of the list and just chilling out with friends and family would be on the top of the list. Infrastructure is a place where AIIMS and many new state government institutes and even private institutes oversign the old established state government institutes. See, state government institutes with their tremendous workload have a big problem in maintaining a clean state-of-the-art environment, and the old buildings further add to the case. But since we have come to study, our main attention should be on the patients and not on the building. Okay, if you are looking for a good hostel life, the first thing you should look for is the washroom. You should definitely look whether the college has provided commodes or not, because that makes hostel life much better. Okay, the second thing you should look for is the hostel room and the number of students accommodating in a single room. Another important thing to look for is the food in the mess and the hostel canteen, but don't keep high expectations. You should also look at the ragging situation of your institute. And I'm a first year medical student, so the only thing that I can say about it is that a zero ragging institution is a myth, and I hope none of my seniors watch this video. Okay, the last thing that you should look for is the library, and this can be a deciding factor because a medical student spends much more time in a college, hospital, or library than in his hostel room. Now, all of these things are very unique to the individual college that you are after, so you have to confirm it from an insider of your college of choice. The hostel life also depends on how studious your friends and seniors are and whether they are helpful or not. Also, there may be a language and cultural barrier, especially between North and South India. For example, it is very difficult to communicate with patients in Jipmer if you don't know their language, and it's similar is the case for foreign universities. So this thing has to be kept in mind. It is one of the most important things to consider because most of us are from middle class families. It is further divided into various sections, but what you should look for is the total cost. For example, AIIMS has a total cost for 6 years of 5,000 to 6,000 rupees only. But as far as I've inquired, the mess cost is not included in this, which is around 2000 to 3000 per month. Most government medical colleges charge around 1 to 2 lakhs for 6 years, but there is a complete range of them, and some may charge equivalent to private universities, and private colleges can charge more than a crore very easily. In reality, almost all the medical colleges do spend more than a crore after each student, but you have to pay only a fraction of it in the government ones, as the government technically pays that for you. This is the ruling criteria when it comes to comparison between AIIMS and the state government institutes, because you will completely lose any kind of reservation or quota if you decide to pursue your MBBS in AIIMS, and unfortunately AIIMS does not have a quota of its own. By the way, the competition for PG seats is much more than the competition for MBBS seats, because there are only a couple of thousand seats in all the medical colleges of India combined, like the government medical colleges. And I am talking about the clinical and paraclinical subjects, not about the preclinical subjects like anatomy, biochemistry and physiology. Take this criteria in due consideration while choosing your college of choice, because this is the biggest downside of choosing AIIMS. Now this is definitely to change a lot with the advent of NEXT, and I'm just gonna speculate at this point. Like with the current NEET pattern, students from AIIMS have an advantage that their course finishes 3 to 4 months ahead of us, so they have got more time to prepare for NEET PG. But in reality, it's not that simple. Like AIIMS is very strict in implementing its attendance criteria for internship, so it kind of cancels out that advantage, because state government students take advantage of this lakhs to prepare for NEET PG, but in turn they sacrifice the clinical exposure that they would have gotten otherwise through this internship years. But this is about to change with the next exam, because the next exam will happen just after your final year of MBBS. So I guess AIIMS students would have an overwhelming advantage over state medical college students, but we have to wait and see until 2023 when it is implemented. Now this section is about mental health and mental support, which is one of the most underrated aspect of the human body when it comes to the opinion of the general public. The best academic setting, best faculties, cutting edge research, over the top competition, nothing is going to help maintain your optimum performance if your mental health has been affected in the process. Moving into a completely new environment and the transition from depending on your parents for everything to almost being completely independent in life is very demanding and can sometimes lead to severe mental depression. Not only that, the spiral of grief can be engraved even deeper when your parents who have been your mental support, moral support for years, are not there with you even in the time of need. And this time of need can come anytime spontaneously. It can come during exams, maybe while you are sick or unhealthy, during mental or physical burnout, which is very common in medical life, and the most common reason, which is failure in academics or relationships. Hence I would recommend keeping the communication with family standpoint in due account while taking your decision, because they are the ones who can keep you safe and prevent you from making ridiculous decisions. And I didn't want to bring up this fact because I didn't want to scare you, but I think you need to know this, that IITs are not the only hubs of suicides in India. Even medical colleges and universities have a high suicide rate. For example, AIIMS Delhi observed 6 suicides in a span of 2 months from June to August of 2020. Okay, that went really dark really quick. So let's talk about something bright. What about the love that you are so used to receiving from a daily basis from your parents? What about your mom's food that, trust me, you're gonna dearly miss every time you sit on the dining chair of your mess? What about your dad's moral support that made you soar through diet times like nothing really happened? And what about that comfy bed that you used to throw yourself after a tired day? Are you willing to sacrifice all of these? This is a question that you must ask before making the decision. A decision this big can't be made by anyone other than yourself. I have mentioned all the facts that you need to know. Now engage yourself in a long discussion with your parents, your seniors, and other experienced people to come at a desirable conclusion. What I can say though is why I chose SCB MCH as my college of choice. Even before appearing for the NEET exam, I had decided on my college of choice with all the information that I have shared in this video, and my college preferences looked something like this. My first preference was obviously AIIMS Delhi, my second preference was AIIMS Bhubaneswar, and my third preference was SCB MCH. AIIMS Raipur and AIIMS Kalyani followed suit since they are closer to my hometown, like my city, except for AIIMS Bhubaneswar, which is in my hometown, my city. And AIIMS Kalyani also provided an option like in case I don't get SCB MCH, I still have a college of choice to go to. But unfortunately the AIIMS exam got cancelled, for which I was preparing for 4 years. And the NEET pattern had a lot of uncertainties, like ours for the year like in 2020 when the NEET pattern changed to a very low level. But even more importantly, I screwed up. So I couldn't get AIIMS Bhubaneswar, let alone AIIMS Delhi, and I ended up choosing SCB MCH. As you can see, I didn't even have the big medical colleges from Delhi in my list of preferences, and this was after considering all the aspects mentioned and checklisting which one actually made a difference for me. So don't just jump wherever the crowd jumps, and don't make your decisions depending on whether a higher ranked individual has chosen a college or not. Make your own decisions after being well aware of the entire situation. Okay, so I make a variety of content in my channel, like guide videos, exam guide videos, book reviews, vlogs, study with me videos, and a lot more is also about to come. So subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. This is Prasoon Patnaik, and I will catch you again in the next one. Bye.